My granddaughter gave me a brand new tablet for my 69th birthday. I brought it to my grandson's place to ask him how to use it. He works in information security. He looked at the device for less than 5 minutes, then his face drained of color. "Grandpa," he said quietly, lowering his voice like the walls might be listening, "we need to contact the authorities. This tablet was compromised before you ever turned it on." I laughed at first. I actually laughed. It was a gift, a sealed box for my own daughter. But 12 days later, when I finally understood what she had been planning, I realized that tablet had never been a present. It was a tool, one designed to dismantle my life piece by piece. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Silver Retribution. If stories like this matter to you, take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss future true-to-life accounts of betrayal, survival, and justice. Leave a comment letting us know where you're watching from. We read every one. As always, names and identifying details have been changed, but the warnings in this story are very real. I turned 69 on a cold Friday in early November. The maples in my neighborhood outside Kingston were already bare, their leaves pressed flat against the sidewalks like forgotten letters. I woke up alone in the same house I'd been in for 42 years, ever since my wife Helen passed away 5 winters earlier. The kettle whistled at 6:45 a.m., same as always. Routine is a comfort when you're alone. I wore an old Queen's University hoodie to the kitchen, the one Helen used to tease me about. "You look like a man who never really left the classroom," she'd say. She wasn't wrong. I taught civics and history for 34 years before retirement. My phone was silent, no messages. At this age, birthdays are quiet affairs. You stop expecting candles and start appreciating mornings. Around midday, the doorbell rang. My daughter, Laura, stood on the porch holding a glossy gift bag with silver tissue paper spilling out the top. She smiled, that careful, measured smile she'd had for the past year, ever since she started seeing that new man. "Happy birthday, Dad," she said, stepping inside and pressing a kiss to my cheek. She handed me the bag. Inside was a tablet, sleek, expensive, still wrapped in plastic, the kind I'd only seen advertised during hockey games. "Laura, this is far too much," I said honestly. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," she replied quickly. "You're always saying you feel disconnected. Now you can video call, read the news, manage everything easily." Something softened in my chest. After years of polite distance, she'd remembered, not just the date, but what I might need. For a moment, I wasn't standing in my kitchen anymore. I was in our old backyard in Belleville, nearly 3 decades earlier. Laura was 7, running toward me with a crooked birthday card made of construction paper and glue, stick figures, a yellow sun. "I made it myself," she'd announced proudly. Helen had watched from the porch, smiling, one hand resting on her stomach. Our son, Andrew, would be born later that year. The memory faded, and I was back in the present, holding a tablet I barely understood. "Thank you," I told her. "It really does mean a lot." She stayed for lunch. We ate soup and bread, and she asked about my blood pressure, my sleep, my doctor appointments. Caring questions, but something about the rhythm felt practiced, like she was following a script. That following week, I drove to Toronto to visit my grandson, Ethan. He's my son Andrew's boy, 26 years old, sharp-minded, works in cybersecurity for a financial firm. I asked him to help me set up email and video calls. He took the tablet, nodding as he tapped through menus. I sipped coffee, watching his brow slightly furrow. "Grandpa," he asked, not looking up, "who gave you this?" "Your Aunt Laura, birthday gift." His fingers stopped moving. "Did she set it up for you?" "No, it was sealed." "It wasn't," he said quietly. I laughed again, uneasy this time. "What do you mean?" He turned the screen toward me. I didn't understand what I was seeing, but I understood his expression, fear. This device has monitoring software installed, not basic stuff, enterprise grade. Someone can see what you do, hear you, turn on the camera, track you. The room felt suddenly smaller. That's impossible, I said. She wouldn't. I do this for a living, Ethan interrupted gently. This wasn't accidental. I stared at the tablet on his table. It looked harmless, clean, silent. What should I do? I asked. Ethan was already reaching for his phone. By the next morning, I was sitting in a small interview room at Toronto Police Headquarters, hands folded in my lap, feeling like my life had slipped into someone else's story. A detective named Maya Patel sat across from me. She was calm, sharp-eyed, the kind of person who listened more than she spoke. Ethan laid out his findings with clinical precision, walking her through screenshots, logs, hidden permissions. I followed along as best I could, but most of it sounded like another language. When Ethan finished, Detective Patel turned to me. "Mr. Harris," she said, using my surname carefully, "your grandson is correct. This tablet was configured before it reached you. Whoever did this has remote access. If you used it for banking or email, they could see everything." I shook my head. "I didn't. I barely know how." "That may have saved you," she replied. She leaned back slightly. "I need to ask you something uncomfortable. Do you have assets, property, investments, insurance?" I hesitated, then nodded. The house alone was worth more than I liked to think about. A pension, savings, a life insurance policy meant for my children. Patel didn't look surprised. In cases like this, surveillance is usually step one. It's about control. Control. The word echoed in my head. She explained the possibilities: financial exploitation, forged documents, even guardianship abuse. Someone building a case to claim I was no longer capable of managing my own affairs. I felt small hearing it said out loud. Not weak, exactly, just reduced. Ethan squeezed my arm. "Grandpa, who benefits if you lose control?" I couldn't answer. I didn't want to. Patel answered for me. "Your daughter, Laura." I drove home in silence that afternoon. The tablet stayed behind as evidence. The house felt different when I walked in, like it knew something I didn't. I sat at the kitchen table where Helen and I had shared decades of meals and stared at the wall until the light faded. 3 days later, Patel called. "Are you sitting down?" I was. She told me about Marcus Hale, Laura's boyfriend, a man I'd never met, a man with a criminal record in Alberta for fraud and elder financial exploitation. 18 months served, patterned behavior. Then came the second blow. "Your life insurance beneficiary was changed 8 months ago. Your son, Andrew, was removed. Laura is now the sole beneficiary." "I never signed anything," I whispered. "We know." The signature was forged, cleanly, professionally. There was more. Inquiries made about adult guardianship, draft assessments, conversations with lawyers, a slow, deliberate process to declare me incompetent. Patel was blunt. "We need evidence of intent. We need them to keep talking." "I want you to pretend I don't know," I said. "I want you to stay free," she replied. That night, they returned the tablet. Modified now, they said, a mirror watching the watchers. I sat alone in my living room, the tablet resting on my knees like a sleeping animal. I turned it on and spoke aloud, careful, deliberate. "I've been forgetting things lately," I said, to no one. "Doctor says it might be stress. This house feels too big, hard to manage." Each word tasted like betrayal of myself. The next morning, Laura called. "Dad," she said brightly, "I was just thinking about you. How are you feeling?" "Old," I replied softly, confused sometimes. Her voice warmed instantly. I worry about you being alone. Maybe we should talk about options. I've been thinking the same thing, I said. She came over that weekend with brochures and a folder full of papers. Assisted living, memory care, power of attorney documents slid gently across my kitchen table like offers of help. It's just in case, she said, touching my hand, so I can help if you need it. I nodded, playing my part. After she left, I photographed everything and sent it to Patel. Then I went to the basement. Helen's filing cabinet was still there, untouched since she died. I'd avoided it for years. Now I opened it. In the back of the bottom drawer, I found a plain folder. Inside were pre-filled medical forms describing symptoms I didn't have, guardianship templates, financial summaries, copies of my deed, and at the bottom, a handwritten page in Laura's unmistakable writing, a timeline. Stage 1, establish confusion. Stage 2, POA signed. Stage 3, guardianship filing. Stage 4, liquidate assets. A note at the end. Marcus says we need to move faster. Dad's health is good. Window closing. I sat on the concrete floor for a long time, holding that paper, remembering a little girl who once told me she could never live without me. Then I called Detective Patel. I found their plan, I said, all of it. And that was when the waiting truly began. The next 2 weeks stretched longer than the 5 years since Helen died. Detective Patel and her team moved quietly, methodically. They monitored calls, tracked messages, followed the paper trail Laura and Marcus thought was invisible. I continued my role, the aging father on the brink of losing his grip. It was the hardest part, pretending to become the man they wanted me to be. Laura visited twice more. Each time she pressed harder. "You seem more tired lately, Dad," she said during the second visit, studying my face like a doctor looking for symptoms. "You repeated the same story twice." I hadn't, but I smiled faintly. "Did I? I don't even remember telling it once." Her eyes lit up, just for a second. She recovered quickly. "I've been speaking to a lawyer," she continued. "We could go together, get everything finalized, just to make things easier." "When?" I asked. "Next week," she said, trying to not sound eager. "Wednesday." "All right," I said, "if you think it's best." She hugged me tightly before leaving. "I'm doing this because I love you," she whispered. That night, Detective Patel sent me a message. They'd intercepted a recorded call between Laura and Marcus. I listened to it alone in my living room, the lamp off, the house dark. "He'll sign next week," Laura said on the recording. "He's ready." Marcus's voice was smooth, confident. "Once you have power of attorney, the rest is procedural. Assessment, guardianship. By spring, everything's under your control." "And the house?" Laura asked. "Sold," Marcus replied. "That alone sets you free. Debt's gone. Fresh start." There was a pause. "He's my father," Laura said quietly. "He's an old man sitting on unused money," Marcus said. "You're just managing resources." I turned the recording off before it finished. I already knew the rest. Wednesday came. I drove to the law office myself, hands steady on the wheel. Laura was waiting in the parking lot, smiling like it was a celebration. Inside, a lawyer named Gregory Bloom greeted us warmly. Papers were laid out neatly, lines highlighted, stickers marking where to sign. "Just formalities," Bloom said. "Your daughter is looking out for you." I picked up the pen. "Before I sign," I said calmly, "I have a question." Laura stiffened. "I'd like to know why my life insurance beneficiary was changed without my consent, why medical forms describing dementia I don't have were prepared, and why your partner, Marcus Hale, has a record for doing exactly this to someone else." The room went silent. Laura's face drained of color. "Dad, you're confused." The door opened. Detective Patel walked in, followed by 2 uniformed officers. "Laura Harris, you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit elder financial exploitation." Laura stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "This is a mistake. Dad, tell them." I looked at her, really looked at her, at the fear, the desperation, the stranger wearing my daughter's face. "My daughter would have asked for help," I said quietly. "She wouldn't have planned my erasure." They led her out, crying my name. Marcus was arrested that afternoon while trying to leave the province. Packed bags, cash, a pattern repeated too many times. The investigation lasted months. Marcus received 7 years in federal prison. His history sealed his fate. Laura received probation, restitution, and a criminal record she'll carry forever. The judge cited manipulation, desperation, cooperation. None of it felt like justice. It felt like aftermath. I filed a no-contact order, changed my will, removed her name from everything. Andrew flew in from Vancouver that summer. We sat on the back deck watching Helen's roses bloom. "I don't understand how this happened," he said. "I do," I replied. "I just wish it hadn't." I turned 70 quietly. No gifts, no devices, just peace. Some nights I still dream of a little girl running across the yard with a handmade card. I wake up reaching for a past that no longer exists. But I'm still here, still free. And that, I've learned, is something worth protecting.